already got one side back together on the Ford. Ball joints are a curse. Got the old ones out, obviously, and then new ones. Yesterday I pedaled half the afternoon, couldn't get the dang things in, couldn't drive them in. I tried heating this up, just couldn't get them in. Ended up ruining the top one of one of them because I heated it up and I put it in there and I couldn't get it cooled down quick enough, and they got a nylon or something bushing inside of there along with some steel, and it melted the nylon and it started running out the hole, so I had to cut it back out and replace it. I was a little more careful with the bottom one here, but so then what I did on these two, which are two that are already in the truck, and then these two are a real good Ford dealer here, and I bought the parts through them, and so they actually lended me their tool to put the ball joints in. I didn't even know there was such a tool, but I'll show it to you here. And I was going to make a video putting it in, and I was so happy that it worked so well, I got carried away and just put them both in. But anyway, it's just a C-clamp, and you can put whatever die or whatever you punch in there you want in there to do that, and just tighten that down, and they go in really easily. Actually, I was rather surprised. I'm very happy about that. And then you got to there's a grease zerk that goes in this top one here, but they send a little plug along with it, and you got to take the grease zerk out and put the plug in when you're actually driving it, because it's too close of a clearance. The yoke, the four-wheel drive yoke, will actually hit it as it's going around. So then you got to take it. You take it out, put the plug back, and then whenever you want to grease it, which is like once a year or whatever, you just take that little plug out and put the zerk in. I don't know why they didn't drill into the side here, but they didn't. But anyway, I got them both greased up, ready to go. But I'll throw it up in there. I got something to show you on installing it. Alright, they got this set up so that if this piece isn't perfectly true, or the ball joints aren't perfectly true or in at the right depth, they let the mount for this top one float a little bit so that it gets on the taper. There's this sleeve, this crushable sleeve here that slips down over the top. It's got a taper for the top of the ball joint right here, and then it's just a smooth cut right here, and then it's got the side milled away so you can so that it doesn't turn in this piece. But anyway, you can work that down in there like that. And put that on there, and then oops, glasses all flopped out of the way. And then you can take this, I just took a bottle jack here, and I'm gonna push up on this piece here just a little bit, or I could push on the ball joint, whatever. You don't need much pressure, but just enough to get that taper to seat in here so that it doesn't turn, because otherwise you need a cutaway socket or just use an end wrench with an Allen wrench to keep that center stud from turning. But if you put some pressure on the taper, it'll work alright. It takes 1 5/16 inches. And a swivel cuts down a lot of your power here on the impact, but it'll still, there we go. It'll still work, at least to get it tightened up, and then you can go in there with a ratchet handle or breaker bar or something. The jack needs a little lubrication. I don't know what its problem is. But then, oh, it's over here. swivels are not very good at transferring torque from the impact. Yep, it's tighter than the other one. Now you just take this top one here, 1.25 inch socket. It might go. Just a skosh too far. And there's that, and you can see it drew that sleeve down in there, and as the taper comes up it spreads it apart so that it crushes it into the taper and it crushes it into this steering knuckle there. So that's how that's done there. And that thing are a little stiff, but not bad. A lot tighter than they were. Alright, earlier I talked about a tool we have or made to put those big vacuum seals in here, which the mechanic out at Ford also didn't really know why they had that big of a seal on the trucks that weren't vacuum assist. I suppose just they didn't have to make several different parts, but regular old lip seal would have sufficed. But anyway, as you can see, we cut they are a tapered roller bearing. We cut those out. This is the old wheel hub assembly. We have cut that out, and then anyway that lets it slip over the axle shaft there. And what I'll do is I'll take the axle shaft, slide it in, make sure you get the end cleaned off, which I already did. And there's a seal. You kind of got to be careful because there is a seal on the inside on the differential that's got to also be, that's got to seal the differential oil. But it generally slides in pretty easy. Alright, now when you get to this part, wipe that off. A little lubricant on it. This is a rubber seal. It might slide on in there pretty easy. Nope, it's not going to go the rest of the way. But anyway, you have to push on this outside lip here, and so what we've done, took a piece of, oh, it's laying up here. We took a piece of this spanner nut's approximately about a 1/2 inch thick, and you have to push the seal that far in so that the nut can turn inside there and it won't hit the seal. So you have to keep that off the face of the bearing here, but you need to push on the outside of the bearing so that thing goes on there like that. We have just a piece of pipe that we ground down so that it fits inside of there easy, into the spindle there, and we've cut it a 1/2 inch thick so that it spaces the seal right, and that slips on. It would sit like that. Alright, so it's like that, and then you just tighten the bolts back and forth to get it to slip in there like it's supposed to. It works pretty good. Come on, maybe this just, nope, it's going to get to about right there and stop. they've actually got it stepped in there, so until you get to about the last ½ inch, things go pretty easy. But anyway, all you do is just take the 2 nuts and you just tighten each side up and just walk it in until this piece, the old bearing, hub assembly is just tight against that. So that's about all you do. Alright, got it back in there, pushed in right where it's supposed to be. Then they sent new studs along with these, which was nice. Bought the Ford Motorcraft wheel bearings. That's probably why. When you buy new or OEM stuff, you know it's exactly what needs to come with it, and they always send a little extra stuff like that sometimes. There's the one I bought from Napa one time, so I bought one from Napa also one time for my old truck after the cheapy internet one went out, and I don't think it came with the studs. I had to take them out of the old wheel bearing. But that's worth a little bit of money right there, just to save the trouble of switching parts over. Little blue Loctite on it, run them down in there just snug with your fingers. Then just slap that thing up in there. The ABS sensor goes up top. Put that in there, and I couldn't find, I don't know what the hardness of these are. They're a metric, 14mm metric bolt or stud. I think you're supposed to torque them to 90 foot-pounds for the 8.8 grade, and 10.9 was like 122, so I just kind of split the difference and torqued them to 105 foot-pounds. Want to make sure you get them tight enough, you know, being the wheel bearings and whatnot. Kind of hate to have that come loose going down the road. But anyway, that's that. Got it all back together. It's coming out here real quick, and we're going to align it enough for me to drive it to the other side of town to get it aligned, and then aligned and have new front tires put on it, and then should be ready to go. So I'll come back to you here in a day or so when I get the new tires on it. Now we're ready to get my truck back, got it aligned, got new front tires on it. I could have had it aligned it myself, but I think they can do a better job putting it on one of those machines and everything, especially since all the parts were new. Getting new front tires and everything, I wanted it done right, so took it out the tire and alignment place and got them. I really like these tires I picked out. They were only about 130 bucks a tire. They're probably cheap. Boto is the name, B-O-T-O. But they got some good, decent tread depth here, and I don't drive this truck doesn't get a ton of miles on it. But they're more like an all-terrain tire instead of just a street tire, which is nice to get out in the field and pull in a wagon or something. So we'll see how they hold up. But I think they'll be alright. Something I've kind of noticed though on these truck tires, this is a pretty common size for all medium duty trucks. You know, it'd be like a 450, 550, you know. Some even like 4900 Internationals have them. You know, more of a heavier truck. You know, a lot of box trucks have them and stuff. The 225, 70, R19 and a half. And anytime you got a real common tire size like that, it just brings the price down because everybody's making them, so that helped out quite a bit. Yes, what are you doing? But anyway, I'll take her down the road here. About 25 degrees out right now. Doesn't start too bad. Gotta have glow plugs. The Power Stroke for some reason always gotta have glow plugs. They won't hardly start without them. Took it out and was playing in the snow with it last night. The back tires are alright because they got more tread on them, you know, wider spacing tread than you know, a typical truck tire. And so I was kind of wanting something like them, and then I saw these and figured I had to have these. They look, I really like the looks of them. Look a lot better than just the street tires that were on the front. But let that warm up a minute and we'll go down the road. They ride real nice though. Of course, it's got all the parts in the front end. It does drive nice. A lot better than it was. The dang thing, it was just fighting you constantly to keep it on the road. I need to tighten the steering gearbox up just a little bit, I think. Supposedly there's a way you can do that. It's still got a little play in the steering, which makes sense. Everything else wore out. The gearbox needs to be tightened up a little too. It could be one of two things. Either the gearbox is loose or the shaft that runs from the steering wheel down to the gearbox has got play in it, that telescoping shaft. So we have to look into that a little bit, but a lot better than it was. I can let go of the wheel and it just goes straight. Well, do it here for rebuilding the front end on my truck. So thanks for watching.